In June of 2016, I was serving a church in the Chicago suburbs when, without warning, the whole world seemed to fall into madness. Omar Mateen, a 29-year-old security guard, shot and killed 49 people, wounded 53 others inside Pulse, a gay nightclub in Orlando. As the leader of the local interfaith organization, I quickly reached out to other faith and community leaders to decide on an appropriate response, even in Illinois. We needed a public, community-wide worship service as soon as possible. We needed to grieve. We needed to express solidarity with the families in Orlando and to assure the local gay and trans community that they were safe and to support one another. We brought materials from our various traditions to shape a liturgy for this occasion. The gay men in town brought Judy Garland's Over the Rainbow as a solo or an anthem they wanted to have included. I'm embarrassed now to confess to you that I resisted this. I'm a bit of a purist in these matters, and it didn't emerge from any of our faith traditions. It didn't reference the tenets of our faiths. It lacked, I said, the gravitas that such a solemn service requires. Talk about tone deaf. Well, the gay men's response to me was unequivocal. Either we include Over the Rainbow, or they would not come to the service. Over the Rainbow quickly became a sacred song. Now, in retrospect, it added a great deal to the service. It provided a poignant vehicle to express our grief for the innocence that we had lost. Don't we all wish for a world where trouble melts like lemon drops and bluebirds fly above the chimney tops? There are at least 1,000 recorded versions of this song out there. What is your favorite? Do you love Judy Garland's classic rendition? Or do you prefer the Hawaiian interpretation by Israel Kamakawiwo'ole? Who has ever heard Ella Fitzgerald hold forth on this song and not been better for it? If you're younger, well then, Pink's performance at the 2014 Oscars may have captured your heart. Each of these astonishing performances grew out of difficult life situations. In 2001, Over the Rainbow was voted the greatest song of the 20th century by the National Endowment for the Arts and the Recording Industry Association of America. Nevertheless, studio executives thought that it was too dark for a children's movie. They ordered it cut from the film. Their order was reversed only when faced with a rebellion from some of the principal staff and cast. It's a simple song. It's a simple song of profound longing. Like the proverbial message in a bottle, it carries the possibility of hope to anyone who is stranded in torturous circumstances. We'll come back to this. But let us consider another Isaiah, the one for whom, no doubt, the Hawaiian troubadour was named. The biblical Isaiah, second or third Isaiah to be more precise, if there are scholars in the room, they lived in times like ours. 2,600 years ago, combatants didn't have drones or missiles or suicide vests, but they did have all our meanness and our corrupt intentions. And there were terrorists even then, you know it, and mass executions and the dislocations of whole populations. The people of 2nd Isaiah were keenly aware of the fragility of life and of everything they held sacred. They too had been forced from their homes. They knew they were vulnerable to forces they could not control. They knew despair. They were separated from their loved ones, never to be reunited. Like so many refugees who flee their homelands today, they had tasted the bitter gall of defeat and humiliation, and it was to them to people like them down through the ages that second Isaiah sang this incredible song of hope and longing read to you this morning. The British composer, Sir Michael Tippett, wrote some of his most striking music from within the depths of the Second World War. He wrote that the artist's duty is, I quote, to create images from the depths of the imagination and to give them form, images of vigor for a decadent period, images of calm for one too violent, images of reconciliation for worlds torn by division, and in an age of mediocrity and shattered dreams, images of abounding, generous, and exuberant beauty. Unquote. Listen again to Isaiah's words. Do they meet Tippett's criteria? Isaiah said, "For I am about to create new heavens and a new earth, and the former things shall not be remembered or come to mind. No more shall the sound of weeping be heard, nor the cry of the distressed. No more shall an infant live but a few days, nor an old person not live out the fullness of her life. And one who dies at 100 will be considered a youth. And they shall build houses and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and eat their fruit. My chosen shall enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain or bear children for calamity. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together. The lion shall eat straw like an ox. And they shall not hurt or destroy on all my holy mountain. Thus says the Lord." Profound? Yes. Hopeful? Yes. And yet, are these words true? Are they believable? Or did these words sound naive to Isaiah's audience of exiles? Did his predictions of future prosperity, health, abundance, peace, and goodwill strike them as just out of reach, over the rainbow, shall we say? Did the realist of the 6th century BCE dismiss these promises as readily as realists dismiss them today? Yet, these were the words ancient captives and exiles of Assyrian and Babylonian empires needed most to hear. These are the words people still need to hear. People of Auschwitz, people of the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, people enslaved in Africa, people lynched in the Americas, people on the Trail of Tears, people at Wounded Knee, people in Yemen, people in Christchurch, New Zealand, people in cancer wards, people in hospice care, people starting over after the ravages of fire and flood and disease, people healing from broken relationships, people seeking safety along so many borders in the world, refugees everywhere, strangers in strange lands. To all these people and to all of us, Isaiah sings of a peaceable kingdom. No more shall the sound of weeping be heard. No more shall children be born for calamity. The wolf will lie down with the lamb. We shall neither hurt nor destroy. This is the message of Judy Garland's song, too. Like Tippett, perhaps like Isaiah, Harold Arlen, the composer, and Yip Harburg, the librettist, were artists of hope in their time. They are known for many classical musicals, and when they wrote The Wizard of Oz, they were creating a child's dream-like fantasy, weren't they? But they did so within an imploding world of shattered dreams. Yip Harburg was raised, he wrote the libretto, he was raised in the home of Yiddish-speaking Orthodox Jews who had emigrated from Russia. He grew up in extreme poverty on New York's Lower East Side, and only 4 of his 9 siblings, actually survived into adulthood. He knew hardship. Harold Arlen, the composer, was born into the devout home of a Jewish cantor in Buffalo, but his parents also had emigrated to America, the land of hope, from Lithuania. Both Harburg and Arlen were shaped by the faith and ethos of Judaism. They both knew firsthand the life of exile, the life of immigrant families unsure of their welcome in their host country. They both knew experientially the realities of Jew hatred during a time when Jews felt unsafe everywhere. Arlen and Harburg wrote the libretto and the music for this show, The Wizard of Oz, in 1938. Now think, Adolf Hitler had become the chancellor in Germany earlier in this decade. The anti-Semitic violence of Kristallnacht broke out in the same year, nearly the same month, that they were writing this musical. First, through Germany and Austria, and then, like a wildfire, pogroms raged through all of Europe. Severe anti-Jewish measures were passed in Germany, Poland, Austria, Italy, Lithuania. Jews were forced to flee or to wear yellow stars for all to see. And the next year, 1939, when The Wizard of Oz opened in theaters across the United States, a ship called the MS St. Louis was crossing the Atlantic. And those on board were seeking sanctuary from the gathering storm in Europe. That ship carried 937 Jews, children, men, and women. And it was turned away in Havana, in Miami, in New York, in Halifax. It had to return to Europe, and many of its passengers, including the children, perished in the Holocaust. Within days of the grand opening of The Wizard of Oz in August, Germany invaded Poland when World War II commenced. The next time you hear "Over the Rainbow," remember this context in which it was birthed. Those words were never just about wizards and Oz. They are about hope, and especially about Jewish survival. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday, I'll wish upon a star, and I'll wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops, away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh why can't I? As Janet Levy Ross observed, the Jews of Europe could not fly. They could not escape beyond the rainbow. In the gospel text this morning, Jesus spoke of nation against nation, of kingdom against kingdom, of earthquakes, famines, plagues, and natural disasters. Sound familiar? And he advised us to be prepared. So is this our destiny? To be stuck here between unprecedented catastrophes and thin affirmations, here between a child's song and a world that's spinning out of control? Are the cynics, are the realists right? Have you heard of Ziauddin Yousafzai? Ziauddin is the child of a Sunni Muslim Pashtun family in the Swat Valley of Pakistan. His dream is that all children will receive education, boys and girls. Not shared by everyone in the Swat Valley of Pakistan, believe me. Because he founded a network of schools throughout the region, and because he educated girls, the Taliban threatened him with death many times. Ziauddin passed his dreams and his values on to his daughter. And even as a child, she agitated for the education of girls. As a teenager, she wrote a blog for the BBC. She appeared prominently in local media, and she too was threatened. In fact, a sentence called a fatwa, a sentence of death, was issued against her. For her dream, because she dreamed, she was shot in the head. She required major surgeries, the reconstruction of her skull, but she survived. Malala Yousafzai became the youngest person ever to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. The terrorists, she said, thought that they would change our aims, stop our ambitions. But nothing changed in my life except this: weakness, fear, and helplessness died. Strength, power, and courage were born. I am the same Malala. My hopes are the same. My dreams are the same. I am not against anyone, nor am I here to speak against the Taliban or any other terrorist group. I am here to speak for the right to education for every child. I want education for the daughters and the sons of the Taliban and of all terrorists and all extremists. Malala now studies at Oxford University, and she's broadened her vision from educating the girls of the Swat Valley to educating 130 million girls around the world who are not in school. The Malala Fund she created with her Nobel Prize money aims to establish a world where every girl can learn and lead without fear. She currently is supporting the education of girls in Nigeria, Syria, Pakistan, Palestine, and Lebanon. And her father, he too has not abandoned his dream. Today he serves as the special advisor on global education for the United Nations. Another dreamer is Václav Havel, Czech playwright, one of my heroes. He was imprisoned for years for his advocacy for human rights during the Soviet era. When the dark night of communism ended in Central Europe, Havel became president of Czechoslovakia, from the prison cell to the presidency, like Nelson Mandela, and later he became president of the new Czech Republic. Hope, he said, is a state of mind, not a state of the world. Either we have hope within us or we don't. Hope is not a prognostication, it is an orientation of the spirit. And each of us must find real, fundamental hope within herself or himself. You can't delegate that to anyone else. Hope in this deep and powerful sense is not the same as joy when things are going well, or our willingness to invest in an enterprise that is obviously headed for early success, but rather an ability to work for something to succeed. This is important. Hope definitely is not the same thing as optimism. It is not the conviction that something will turn out well, but the certainty that something makes sense, regardless of how it turns out. It is this hope, above all, that gives us strength to live and to continually try new things, even in conditions that seem as hopeless as ours do, here and now. Isaiah promised joy and prosperity, but painful tribalism divides our country. Every day, it seems, we are confronted by yet another crisis. We see immigrants fleeing in every direction, all over the world. Isaiah promised wellness, productivity, but we see physical pain, privation, private anguish. Harburg and Arlen assured us that our dreams are almost within our reach. Do we dare to dream of a better world? I think we must. We have to. For surely I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans for your welfare and not for your harm, to give you a future with hope, proclaimed Jeremiah. God's promises are true, but they work through communities, and they come to fruition within the resistant media of time. Weeping may tarry for the night, said the psalmist, but joy comes with the morning. Impatiently, we await the dawn. I was wrong about Judy Garland's famous song. It belongs in church. It belongs here. It belongs in every heart in our land. It is an affirmation of faith. It is the song of Isaiah. It is the song of America. It is the song of hope that arises from the depths of fear. And it is our song. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that we dare to dream really do come true.